Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I have here with me Lisa Barry, who is going to talk about
Hi.
mission-led content revolution. Before I hand over to Lisa, I welcome you to use the comments and ask questions throughout, and then we will hand over to Lisa at the end to answer all your questions. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Lisa. My business is Lisa Barry Online. I was very imaginative when I came up with that one. And what I do is I teach people how to teach purpose-driven business owners. So business owners who really feel that their business makes a difference to other people's lives, who really know that they have an impact in the world. And I teach them to write their own and create their own mission-led content marketing. So how can I do this for start? Who am I to do that? Well, I was doing it for other people for years. I was a content marketer and copywriter for a long time. But here's the thing, I couldn't do my own. So I could write other people's, but I couldn't write my own. And lots of my clients would say to me, oh, I just can't write because I'm not good enough at writing, or I don't know what to say, or I'm not, you know, what if somebody calls me out? What if I make a mistake? What if people, I give some advice or tell someone something and somebody in my industry says that I'm wrong? You know, all these fears and stories about what other people thought about them and their writing. I felt the same, and yet I could write for other people. So I was writing for coaches that were on six-figure launches, but I couldn't write my own post to sell my writing service that was definitely undervalued, but I couldn't do that for myself. So what I realized was copywriting and content marketing, actually, if you're doing your own, as in you haven't got a marketing team behind you, it's not about learning to write the perfect post. That's not what it's about. It's having the mindset shift to say, I deserve to be seen. I deserve to be heard. I know I can help people, and the people that I want to help are more important than anyone else who might have an opinion, because those people are not going to pay my bills or put food on my table, and also those people are not my ideal clients. They're not the people I want to help. You know, whether it's that fear of your other parents down the school, if there's a school, you know, your mother-in-law or your mother or your old colleagues, all those fears of all those people. When you're focused on your mission, so this is where mission-led content was born, focusing on what you want to achieve that is bigger than yourself. I think as human beings, we need to step into that. There's a lot of personal development work where we look at ourselves, we work on ourselves, and I know that's important. I'm not negating that. I love that stuff. I'm all in, like fully all into that stuff. But when it comes to actually creating content, if we're too focused on ourselves and what other people might think of us and how we are, all, you know, if we're all in our own heads, then it actually becomes a block. And we want to open that door and say, actually, I'm writing content for one person, for my ideal client. That's who I'm talking to. And that is what mission-led content is. Mission-led content is also compassion, because it's having compassion for ourselves. See, we're the ones that are showing up on social media, right? So we're the ones that have to promote our business. We have to face the fear of judgment, and we have to face the fear of failure when we do that. And those two fears are big, real human fears. And you are not human if at some point you don't feel that, and you don't feel it in your bones, and it doesn't, you know, feel like it's suffocating you at times, those fears. But as well as we allow ourselves to feel those fears and give ourselves, you know, it's okay, I'm okay to feel this way, I'm human, but I'm compassionate with myself, but I'm not going to let it stop me. And it's that mindset shift of actually, it's not about that. It's not about that at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 5 biggest blocks that my ideal clients tell me and here's the thing, these are the biggest blocks that stop them from being courageously visible. But here's the thing, and I need you to know this, these were my blocks before. This is what kept me back for so long as well, which is why I know what this feels like. I'm not telling you, oh, just go out there, it doesn't matter, because I know what it feels like to go through this. But that courageous visibility took me from a place of you know, struggling to worrying when Tesco's, or booked Tesco order and worrying if I had enough money in the bank to pay for Tesco's coming, to retiring my husband from the NHS in February, just before this hit, with no knowledge that this was coming. We kind of saw it coming, but we didn't know it was going to come like it did. And I can't tell you the gratitude that I feel. And, you know, it's just immense when I think that, like, for years and years, if I hadn't have been courageously visible a year ago, I wouldn't, he would still be working on the NHS, and his ward and the people he worked with, you know, it's been very, very difficult. So it's amazing what courageous visibility, where it can take you and it can take your life. It really is a game changer for a personal development process, and that human level, that like, I am connecting with people, I am making a difference, I am really changing the world one social media post at a time. So we start with the biggest thing is this confusion between visibility and vanity. So when people feel that if they post if they put in their posts up, they're sharing testimonials where other people have said how good they are, if they're owning and putting their offers out there, that people are going to think they are vain. I want you to know that visibility is not vanity. Visibility is basic business principles. Nobody's buying a secret. You know, you're not, unless you're a spy, you're not buying a secret. You need to be visible so people can see you are there and they can buy from you. And it's like I've got clients that have written visibility isn't vanity and put like stickers up everywhere to remind themselves. It's okay to be seen, because you deserve to be seen and you deserve to be heard. You don't need to hide. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is key, it slips in with, well, they all slot together anyway, but fearing that everyone's going to see everything that you post. So my clients at the moment in my mentorship program, they've just created their content plan and they're just about to go and create content. And they're like, I've had a Zoom call with them, and 3 of them this morning said, but I'm just really worried about bombarding people, and I'm really worried about being pushy. So they know what they want to say because they've created a plan and they've got some ideas, but they're worried about actually creating the content and pushing it onto other people, and what other people might think of them. So my response to that was, firstly, and this is it's this whole thing, not everyone sees everything. So if you press that post button and you think that the entire internet and his wife sees it, it's not happening. You know, the way the algorithms work, it just doesn't happen. I had a client once who was in a launch process and was really, really going for it and really being really visible, but she had a complete like visibility hangover, and she said to me, I can't do this, everyone's going to be so sick of me. And I followed this girl on all of the platforms she was on. I'm on social media way too much anyway, so I definitely should have seen her. I comment on her stuff, so the algorithm should know that I follow her and should show me more of her stuff. I said, to be honest with you, I've only seen a couple of posts that week. They were good posts, I was pleased to see them, but I did not feel inundated. In her head, everyone was going to be fed up with her, and I had only seen her a couple of times. So knowing that, and I remember telling her that and worrying that she was going to go, oh God, what's the point? I'm doing all this, what's the point if no one sees it? But I saw a weight lift off her shoulders, because she realized she wasn't bothering people, she wasn't bombarding people, she wasn't being pushy. Because, you know, somebody might see every 5th post she put out, for example. So it wasn't and if you think of the amount of data that people consume, you know, you only have to do that on your mobile phone and you've gone past like 20 people's dinners, or, you know, sales posts, or whatever it is that's going on. We get so much that your post is just one in a sea of other posts. So letting that hold you back, like, be bold, be brave, because you have to take that extra step. When you realize that not everyone sees everything, you have to take that extra step. Don't tell me your offer hasn't sold any and you haven't made a sale, or you haven't made enough sales, as many as you thought, when you've only posted it a few times. That, you know, the people haven't seen it enough to actually take action. The third thing is to remember, I'll just have a sip of water. The third thing is to remember is that repetition is good. So a lot of people say, what do I write? I've already written about that. I've already written about this. People are going to get bored of me writing the same thing. Well, if we remember for a start that not everyone sees everything, and that visibility isn't vanity as well, it's okay to be saying the same things because not everyone sees everything. But even those people that do, they need to hear it several times. Anybody that, I'm no brain expert, I just watch a lot of TED Talks, but anybody who knows anything about the brain, you know, you get these neural pathways that get developed by repeating, hearing a message repetitively. They're not going to take action until they've heard that message several times. They need to know exactly who you are, what you do, how you help people, and they need to know that and hear it again and again and again before they are taking action. So it's that consistently showing up with that same message. If you are not repeating yourself, there's something wrong. Repeating yourself means that you're focused on your mission, you're focused on your content. One thing to take that a step further, I'm going to take repetition a step further with you here. If you can repurpose your content, so that means literally repeating, sharing the same content a second or third or fourth, fifth time, it is a form of self-care. Repurposing is self-care. It is self-compassion. So what I encourage you to do today, if you currently don't repurpose your content, is to open like a Word document, a Evernote, notes in your phone. I use Trello. I love Trello, but Asana, it doesn't matter, whatever you're already comfortable with, just call it content. While I'm speaking now, just go and do it and take that action. And then when you start creating content, put it in there first, right? And start creating. You can date it, you can give it a title that, you know, because there may be several themes that you might cover, you know, in general. Give it a title of, you know, what is the main thing that you're talking about in this particular post. And then a date. Just keep it as simple as possible and keep adding to it, because, you know, in a month's time, 2 months' time, 3 months' time, when you're not well, when the kids aren't well, when maybe you've got too many clients, maybe you just can't be bothered to create new content that day. But you still don't want to sacrifice your visibility and your consistency. You can go into that library and pull out one of your old pieces and share it again. And it is the best thing you can do for yourself. Your future self will thank you for it, as that really corny phrase goes. But I mean, this is really a practical thing you can do for your content now that will have it. Honestly, it's changed. Doing that has changed my approach to content marketing, because it's made my life so much easier. Any way we can make our life easier, like, life's hard enough, right? Let's make our life as easy as possible. Make it easy putting these processes in so we can show up and be courageously visible even when we don't feel like it. That's the magic. That's the magic. That's the distinction between people who are able to succeed and people who try and then stop. Because there'll always be a time you want to stop. If you have a process in place to allow for that time, then you'll be able to get through that and keep going regardless. So understanding that repetition is good and repurposing is self-care. Now, my fourth point is I want you to take a minute and breathe, which I don't do very often. I talk a lot. But start where you are. So you might be thinking, well, I see these people who are really visible. Maybe they're come up on your ads all the time. Maybe they're people who you see, you know, you look at and think that they're sort of on a pedestal to you for their visibility and what they're doing. And you think, I can't possibly be like that. I'm not brave enough. I'm not bold enough. I haven't got enough to say. I don't have, I need to lose another 10 pounds and then I'll be able to do that. Maybe if I have a professional photo shoot, maybe if I have some better branding, maybe if I've, maybe Denise Duffield Thomas does this awesome talk about women selling stuff. And she says, maybe the Mercury's in retrograde, or the moon's on the wrong side, or, you know, all these things that we can use and think, oh, well, I can't do it until I've got all these things in place. These are the things that are stopping me. There is nothing stopping you from taking that next step. So your next step in courageous visibility will be different to mine. I am right now taking my next steps in courageous visibility. I'm working with a coach, I'm creating new products, I've had ads going out, that I'm doing my own courageous visibility. But 18 months ago, my courageous visibility was just posting every day. That was it. That was all. I wasn't doing that, and I needed to learn to do that and make it part of my routine. Content marketing is not a job that you can tick on for your to-do list and then just go, oh, well, that's done. As soon as you've ticked it off, you've got to put it on another list, because you've got to keep showing up. So that's why it's so important with content marketing that we make it easy, make it part of our day, part of our life, part of our processes. So one of the things I do, one of the things where I say start where you are, take the next step, is start repurposing. One of the things that I do is I have a day in the week on a Monday evening where I meet with a writing group, and we all just meet on Zoom and then just write away. We don't talk to each other, but maybe you can have some accountability with a friend, or even if you don't need that, you can just do it on your own, but just create. Maybe you don't need that and you'll create content on the fly. That's fine too. There's no rules around this. This is the thing, there's no rules. It's your rules. You're the one that's got to show up and do it. You can't take anyone else's instructions on this. This is about you finding the right way for you. So starting where you are and being conscious, curious and mindful about what you need right now to allow you to take that next step to courageous visibility. So is it to plan that time to write? Is it to create a plan and have some content ideas out there? Is it to get up in the morning, first thing in, like, this is what I do first thing in the morning. So I have a lot of my content written at the beginning of the week, like new content that I'm putting out that week. First thing in the morning, I'll get out of bed. I won't even get out of bed. I'll pick up my phone and I'll copy and paste that stuff from over in my content plan in Trello, and I'll put it where I want it to be straight away. So just how it's done before. So no matter what happens that day, I know I have been visible and I have shared mission-led content. No matter what happens that day, I've started the day being visible. And it's a real game changer. That works for me. I know I've got clients who say, there's no way I'm picking up my phone first thing in the morning. I need to meditate. I need to do yoga. I need to do this. Fine, do that then. Find the time that works for you. You know, you don't have to do what I do. Find the time that works for you. And then if it doesn't work and you don't do it, don't say, oh, well, that's not working, then I'm shit at this, I can't do this. Ask yourself, be conscious, curious and mindful. Why didn't it work? What's stopping me? What is it? Is it internal blocks? Is it that inner chatter telling me I'm not good enough? What is it that's stopping me? Is it just perhaps the time of the day that I'm telling myself that I'm trying to create this? Maybe this is the wrong time of the day for me. It can be as simple as that. Like, make it work for you. There's no rules to this. This is about you finding your own path. So starting where you are and taking that next step. And then the fifth thing that people worry about is the fifth problem that people have, the biggest block to actually getting leads on social media, is not being consistent. And this all feeds in, see? So if you know that visibility isn't vanity, if you know that not everyone sees everything, if you know that repetition is a good thing, if you know that you can start where you are and ignore the comparatitis and the perfectionitis and you can just take your next step, then you can be consistent, because it is that will get you leads. What you are doing now by showing up on social media is not about the results that you'll get tomorrow, because actually content marketing is cumulative. We don't do what we're doing now for the results tomorrow, and that's what pees people off. They get really irritated because they get restless and impatient. But it's like a relationship. It takes time to build that trust. It takes time for them to know, oh, that person's still showing up, still talking about the same thing, still got that same message. And actually, I do think I really need what they're selling. Yes, she understands me. With our content, we should be sharing two things: authority and empathy. You need to be showing your ideal client through this content that you're creating on this cumulative approach that you understand them, that you see them, that you hear them, that you know what they're experiencing, and that you have a sufficient knowledge and understanding that you can take them to the next step. One of the things that came up it comes up a lot, people talk about a lot, is they just don't know what to write. So it's all right, okay, I can get over those 5 steps, but what the heck do I actually talk about? So I want you to imagine that it's a raging river, and your ideal client is on one side and you're on the other, and your content, when they first see you, it's a big leap of trust to come over and take that massive leap and start working with you. Your content is like stepping stones over to you. That's how they learn what you're like, what your values are, that they can trust you. I mean, people buy because they feel an emotion. That's what creates that urge to take action, is an emotion that they feel, that whether it's, you know, whatever that emotion is, whether it's they're moving either away from pain or towards pleasure, but they're moving, that there's something that they want that you can give them. You can solve a problem. They've got a problem, you've got the solution. And so what we need to do to help them to take this first step, so as they step over that last leap, isn't a massive leap, it's just a little hop, because it's not a big deal anymore, because they know you so well, because they trust you, because they love you already. So it's not a massive leap. So what we need to do to help them take that first step is to go over to them. You need to go over to their side. You need to understand, and this is the question that this is going to help you with your content ideas right now. Ask yourself, what does my ideal client need to know right now? What does my ideal client need to know right now? And that right now, I've always added that right now bit in. And then COVID hit, and suddenly that right now became like as if I was changing it and trying to tell people to change their content. But actually, I've always said right now, we should always be curious that what's going on in our ideal clients' lives, and that things can change, and that life evolves, and we should always be checking in with that. You know, it's a question I ask myself regularly. Even though, you know, I've done this work, I still revisit it, I still come back to it. So what does your ideal client need to know right now? And what I'm going to ask you to do is to journal on it. And there's a very specific reason I ask people to journal, because when we're journaling, if I said to you, write 10 content ideas, you'd be like, I can't write, I don't know what to write, I've got all these ideas in my head, but my mind is blank. If I just say, just journal, just imagine your ideal clients in front of you right now, and bearing in mind that you should like your ideal clients. They should be someone you actually want to spend time with. You're sharing a glass of Prosecco. Maybe you're having a beer together. Maybe you're having a cup of coffee and a piece of cake, or eating a nice lunch, whatever you'd like to do with your ideal client. And you're enjoying spending time together. You know, what are you talking about? What are you talking about in that conversation? What's coming out? You know, when they're talking about their problems, and how do you respond to that? How do you help them? You know, okay, content marketing, the idea is we want to make a sale, right? That's the idea, that's what we do it for. But when we approach it with a mission-led approach, we're actually saying, no, our content can help. We're not going to hide bits of it and say, oh no, this bit's a secret, you've got to pay for this bit. No, we're in front of our ideal client, and we're serving, we're solving problems, we're serving, we're helping, we're supporting, we're showing empathy and authority. So you're with your ideal client, you're having that glass of wine or that cup of coffee. What are you talking about? What do you need them to know to help them in that moment during that lunch break to take that next step? And just journal out what you would say to them. So this could be what you need them to know from a mindset point of view to help them take that next step across the river. This could be what you want them to know about your services, like what's the details they need to know. This could be what they need to know about you as a person and your story, and why they should trust you, why you are the person to help them. What is it you want them to know? And just journal it out. And as you journal, you're not worried about, you know, oh, I've got to put this in an organized way, and I've got to make sure I'm spelling this right, and I've got to make sure I put the commas in the right place. You're not worried about any of that, because you're just letting it go it's like brain vomiting it all out. And then when you've done that, maybe go and have a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever you want. And when you come back to it, pull out those key messages. So for me, when I did this initially, like, what do I want my ideal client to know right now? One of the 5 biggest things that kept coming up: visibility isn't vanity, not everyone sees everything, starting where you are, repetition is good, and consistency. And that's how I developed this talk that I'm talking to you today, through going through my own process. And a lot of my content, if you ever follow me, talks to those problems, because that's what my ideal client is generally dealing with. So you can take these snippets and create bullet points. And I create my content in Trello. That's what I do. And you could put them in Trello and put each of these bullet points of these ideas into Trello on a board and put them in separate cards. And then the great thing about Trello, they really should pay me, Trello. They don't, I promise. The great thing about Trello is on the cards on Trello, you write your idea like visibility isn't vanity, and when you open up the card, in the comment section of that card is where you can write your content, and that allows you to store the content really easily to do with that topic. So you can click it, and then you've got all of the content you've ever written on that topic. So it's really easy when I'm talking about repurposing. But if you don't like Trello or don't know Trello, great. If you want to go and learn it, do. A great person to look out for who teaches Trello and has some good videos is Maria Watson. If you want to look her up on LinkedIn, she's very good. But even if you don't want to use Trello, you could just use a Word document. Like, don't just do the next, remember my next step thing, just take the next step for you. What do you need to do? Even, I'll tell you another thing, Post-it notes. You can even write these ideas on Post-it notes and stick them all around you. Stick them all around your computer, stick them on a wall. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be technical. There's nothing, it just has to work for you right now. You can improve the process. You can add more ideas to it as you go, but just making that start and saying, okay, right, I've got a list of ideas. So I'm not going to sit here twiddling my thumbs wondering what to do, because I know I can talk about that. I can tell a story about that one. I can ask a question about that. I can write a call to action post with that as my inspiration. And then you've got no excuses to show up and be courageously visible. And having those systems in place allows you to be more consistent. So I hope that helps, my little ranting helps. I don't know if there's been any questions or anything. If there's anything else you want me to cover.
Yeah, I love it. I always love how passionate you get about this subject.
I do get very passionate about it. I always get on a soapbox. So I never thought when I was growing up this would be what I did, but it turns out I'm really passionate about it. I'm just passionate about people showing, so many people dismiss social media as like this, or there's so much negativity on it, or it's a place where it's so trivial. It's so not. It's this empowering space where we can step into our light and have a platform where we can really shine.
Absolutely. Our mark is frozen. So we have got a question.
You've frozen a little. Oh, there you are. You froze a little for a moment.
So I just need to go into the chat.
Oh, right. That's what it was.
You can still hear me.
Yes, I can.
So what do we do when people don't know their ideal customers that well? Knowing what will resonate whilst having no market research to go by, finding out real pains in customers' language, it can take some time to get this.
Yeah, you're right. It can take time to get it. Absolutely. So what I would say is ask questions. So the ideal client work for me is really important that you do that. So I would spend some time on your ideal client, just map out who they are, like and think of them as a whole person. Like, what are their dreams, their desires, their hates, their dislikes? What do they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning worrying about? What are their habits? It's like when we know what their problems are, it's like what's their lived experience of that problem. So some people might say something like, I have my client's problem is that they don't feel heard at work. But what's the lived experience of not feeling heard at work? That they have a knot in their stomach before they go into work, and they sit in the car not wanting to get out of their car, and they feel like maybe they're unworthy, and maybe these people are right to not listen to them, and they have all this sort of internal chatter, and they feel sick going into a meeting and hate that feeling of being dismissed. Like, what does that lived experience actually look like? But if you don't know the answers to that question, then it's your responsibility to find it. So work out who it is that you really want to work with. They should, like I say, be somebody you want to spend time with, and then find where they are, locate them in the communities where you are, and ask the questions. And just question posts are brilliant. I used to keep a Word document, and I would, if I would go into groups and I would search in groups like keywords that is to do with copywriting and content marketing, and then you would hear people's questions coming up about that thing, and then you would get to see what language they're saying and how they're describing it, and I would copy some of that language and put it into a Word document, so I had like a rich document of all this language that they were using. And so yes, it does take time to build that up, but you've got to make a start. You've got to make a start somewhere. The first thing is you've got to decide who you actually want to work with, so that you can figure out where to go and where to find these people. And you know, that's not always an easy process, but it's a very important one, because unless you know who you're talking to, you will struggle when it comes to writing any content, never mind mission-led content.
Very true. So another question is, how do we feel confident in sharing our views?
And that's a hard one now, especially because things have got very things feel quite tough online at the moment, especially. You are responsible for your own boundaries. So when I say to people about being vulnerable and sharing your story and your opinions and standing up for what you believe in and standing up for what you don't believe in, so standing what you stand for and what you stand against, those are really important things to establish, because it's one of the questions I also ask, as well as what do your ideal client need to know right now, what do you stand for and what do you stand against. So if you can maybe journal that out and get really clear on what those values are, and then once you've kind of established, like, okay, these are my values, this is what I stand for, this is what I stand against, this is what my business stands for and what my business stands against, and then some of my clients have literally draw a box and say, this is what my boundaries, this is what I'm okay to share and I'm okay to talk about, and this stuff I'm not. This stuff I don't feel strong enough about, like maybe there's some fragility there, maybe there's some uncomfortableness and you're not quite ready to talk about that. Maybe it's something within your story, maybe it's something where you might, as you go forward, remember I talk about next steps, as you go forward you might feel more confident, you know, you take those baby steps. But right now, having those boundaries of saying this is what I'm comfortable with talking about and this is what I'm not okay with talking about, allows you to so it's okay, I can show up and I can share my views about this because this is in my box, I can share that, and if it's outside my box I'm not going to, I'm just not going to do that right now while I navigate and take my next steps. And you know, boundaries can be fluid, you can change your mind, nobody's, you know, making that, you're making them for yourself, you make the rules for yourself. So it is a difficult one, and you will get more confident as you go forward.
Awesome, thank you. So another question is, how do we find the balance between talking about our lifestyle and our products, so sort of sales posts, and how do we integrate that to make the posts impactful and engaging?
Okay, so that's a really important one, because different people I meet some people find it really easy to do the business posts and hard to do the personal ones, and other people find it hard to do the personal ones and easy to do the business ones, and that's just, you know, we're all very different, but having that balance is important. So I would say, and this is really, like I mean, like I say, you make your own rules. I never tell anyone what to do. I'm not a dictator. I coach people to find their own path, but 25% of your content should be telling people what you offer and giving people the opportunity to buy it, whether that is through a testimonial, because you could do a testimonial with share a testimonial or a piece of social proof with a link for where somebody can buy or take that next step with you. So 25% of your content should be about, or not should be, that's the wrong word, in my opinion, I recommend is a post where you make people aware that they can take that next step with you. Then 25% of your content should be really fierce mission-led content where you share, that's coming, you know, what does your ideal client need to know right now? What do you stand for? What do you stand against? What change do you want to make in the world? And what is your role in it? With that real sort of like value-driven authority, post where you say, you know, I know this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I know about. That can also come in the form of giving tips and advice, and, you know, helping people by showing, like, I can help you right now, let me help you, let me tell you this one actionable tip you can take away. So 25% of your content should be really focused on making sure people know your passion, your what your mission is in some way, whether it's through tips or explanation or just inspiration. Now the other 50, have a fucking ball, like, have fun with it, you know, really go out and enjoy yourself. You know, because content marketing should be, we want to be showing up and have being playful. You know, that's you as a person is why somebody's going to buy your stuff. They're going to buy your stuff because they like you as a person, not just because you can do something. Millions of people can do stuff, but you are the one that they like and they want to do. They want you. So this could be asking questions, telling stories, creating videos, you know, just showing, you know, what you're doing that day, you know, a picture of your dinner if you really want to do that. I mean, yeah, dinner posts aren't my thing, but lots of people love doing that, and that's fine. And actually, if you're a nutritionist, it's a very good idea. But you know, it's there's a lot of room to play and have fun with social media. So I say, you know, we should be putting sales posts out, we should be putting those mission-led posts out, but let's have some fun as well, and let's show you as a person and your personality, so people actually do want to work with you, not just so you can do things with them, but so they can have fun with you.
So true. So another sort of question that we had, and I know you kind of mentioned it before, about consistency. So how do we make sure that we're consistent when we really just don't want to?
Yeah, so that comes back to putting systems in place that allow you to do that. So I don't schedule posts. That's not something that I do, but I do know a lot of people that do use, you know, I know not, you have to follow the rules of the particular platforms, obviously, but you know, it could be scheduler, it could be a scheduler, it could be like I do it first thing in the morning, so I know that I've done it. It could be writing in advance and having stuff ready. It could be making sure, this is the game changer, having content ready, repurposing, plan, you know, putting your content aside so you can show up. But that does take time, because you have to create the library, you know, you have to be working for 2 or 3 months consistently, unless you can go back through your old stuff and do it. A great thing is now is what I've noticed in the last 6 months or so is, because I've been showing up consistently for around 18 months now, my Facebook memories are a treasure trove for old content. I can just go, oh, copy and paste, that's a new one, I've just put that out, I haven't shared that for you, because I wasn't storing my content back then. And it, you know, it's just a great treasure trove of putting it out there. So yeah, that's a big one. But yeah, storing your content, like I say, repurposing is self-care, so that is the big thing I would advise people to do.
Great tips. Another one is, how do you choose content types? So preferences, you know, what's better? Is it blogging? Is it videos? Like, what do you suggest on types?
Well, because it's cumulative, there's no right way. The best way, so you meet different people where they are. I believe in the power of video. It's really amazing, because when we do videos, what we are able to do is, like, I will meet people who really feel like they know me because they see me in the videos. And you know, you show, even when people scroll past a video, just the whole subconsciousness of taking in that head and the you know, your nuances, things that make you, your accent, your smile, the things that don't show up on a headshot, you know, you can't convey them. However, I know very successful people who are like, I'm not making a bloody video, and they just refuse, and yet their content is so awesome. And that, you know, so it's not, like I say, there's ways of I'm not making anyone do anything and say, I can say there's real value in this. Blogs are brilliant, because you get people, you know, if you're blogging regularly, you will get more people visiting your website. Blogs are great because they give you something to talk about on social media, and you can take out your parts of the blog and turn them into social media posts, so you can leverage the content that you're sharing. And that's, you know, so blogging is great. Short question posts are great. Sharing story posts are great. Obviously you need call to actions, and you need social proof posts. I would never say to somebody, this is the main type of post you need to post. It's about the variety. That's what, because different people appreciate different types of posts, and you meet it. Like sometimes I'll be sitting down and watching something boring on telly, and I can spend a bit of time looking at a post. But another time, I'm, you know, simultaneously wiping my 4-year-old's bum. So you know, maybe not as engaged in the same way. So it totally depends what I'm doing to how I engage with a piece of content. So that's, you know, that's a real key part. So there's no right or wrong. Just dip your fingers in it all, or dip your toes in it all, I think is more the phrase.
That's great. So our last question is around tools. So other than Trello, do you recommend any tools to sort of streamline that process for content creation or organization?
So I'm super simple on how I go about things. To me, it's the best tool you can find. Honest to God, the best tool you can use is your journal. I mean, we really are talking to people about it, simplifying it. I don't want people to feel that content creation has to be complicated. Now, I know there are loads of tools and technical things you can do, but that's not me. Because for me, it's about making things. I mean, I like Trello just because it is so simple, and I have it on. I've got 2 phones, so I've got it on both phones. I've got it on my computer, but if I ever open it, I can access it because it's in the cloud. Anything that's in the cloud. There's one other system that I recommend, and that is that you get into the habit of screenshotting anything. Anyone says anything nice about you online, screenshot it. Make it small, so, you know, like if you need to anonymize it, that's the right term, you know, so it's not, you take out whether it's, you know, making it small so it gets rid of their name, or graffitiing over their name. And then put it in a folder on your phone. Make sure it's attached to the cloud. Put it in a folder on your phone. So I've got just separate folders on my phone for the different things that I sell. So whether it's, you know, I'm promoting my free challenge, or my free group, or my mentorship program, or my one-to-one, and so I've got different testimonial lists in my phone album. So that means that when I want to share a testimonial, it's one of the easiest piece of content I can do. So, you know, it's not a streamlined tool, it's just on my phone. It's all backed up in the cloud, which means that if, you know, single point of failure, if I drop it down the loo, it's going to be okay. And it just makes it's anything to make your life easier. Anything to make your life easier.
Awesome, fantastic. So that's all the questions. I want to thank everybody, because we've had a few technical issues, I think, between the feed and Facebook, but people have bared with us. So I kind of
good.
Thank you to everyone for staying on. Obviously we are recording it so they can go back and watch, and the quality will be a little bit better. But where can everybody find you and your resources?
So the best place to find me really is in my Facebook group, my free group, which is the Mission-Led Content Revolution with Lisa Barry. So in there's, you know, I do a free 5-day challenge, but you can access that if you go to the free group. The opening welcome there, or, you know, you can sign up for the free challenge. My next one's in September, I think. So yeah, that's the best place to find me.
Excellent. You have an influx of people.
Yeah, I'm very happy to take. My only rule in there is don't be an arse. So, you know, you can come on, and as long as you're not an arse, you're very welcome.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. And thank you everyone.
Thank you for having me.
I just love your passion. I think everybody's kind of bought into that. So I'm looking forward to everybody's content going forward. So just to remind everybody that we have our next session on the 24th, which is with Andy Lambert. So make sure that you sign up for all our future events. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.